At 27, I was ridiculously, almost obscenely happy. I had a woman I loved, a business that provided a good income, and a younger brother, Liam, who was more than just a brother to me. He was my best friend, my shadow, my pride. Emily's and my love story was a local legend among our friends. A chance meeting in a coffee shop, 5 years of dating, a shared dream of a house with a big porch and 2 dogs. I was an idealist who believed in absolute trust and that our love was a fortress. Impenetrable. Eternal. The wedding preparations turned into a pleasant, hectic marathon. The rings, engraved with "Forever," lay in a velvet box. The restaurant with a panoramic view of the city was paid for. The invitations, sent out a month ago, had brought back dozens of enthusiastic RSVPs. I was living in a sweet fog of anticipation, waking up with a smile every day. The world was perfect. And then the perfect world cracked, shattered, and came crashing down on my head, burying me under the rubble. It was a Tuesday. Emily had gone to her bachelorette party. I stayed home, deciding to put together a slideshow of photos for the wedding, a touching chronicle of our love. Her laptop was being repaired, so without a second thought, I picked up her tablet. I wasn't looking for anything incriminating. I was looking for a folder named Vacation 2022, where our pictures from Italy were stored. But my finger slipped, and the Messenger app opened. The last chat was with Liam. I would have closed it, honestly. But the last line from my brother caught my eye. "I can't wait for all this to be over. To see your face next to his and know that you're mine." A coldness started spreading from my fingertips. I scrolled up through the conversation. A day. A week. A month. 3 months. 3 months of their secret, sordid affair, unfolding on the tablet screen in minute, nauseating detail. The photos. There they were, kissing in Liam's car. Emily had told me she was going to help a friend move. There they were at a country hotel, where Liam had supposedly gone to study for his exams. Their naked bodies, intertwined on crumpled sheets. But worse than the photos were the words. Their words about me. "Emily, he's so predictable." Today he was talking about kids again. "Sometimes his naivety is so exhausting." "Liam, just be patient a little longer, my love. He doesn't suspect a thing. His blind love is our best defense." "Emily, I know. With him, it's comfortable and stable. But you're real passion. Sometimes I feel like I'm suffocating next to him." I read and couldn't breathe. The air in my lungs turned to broken glass. Every word cut, mangled, and twisted me inside out. 5 years of love, trust, and plans, it was all a farce. A convenient screen for her real passion. And my brother, my younger brother, whose diapers I had changed, whom I had taught to fight and protected from the world, turned out to be Judas. The final nail in my coffin was a message from Emily, sent just a couple of hours earlier. "Do you think we can meet during the honeymoon? We could make up an excuse that you have to come for urgent business." The shock receded, giving way to something new. Something icy and heavy that settled at the bottom of my soul. It wasn't just anger. It was a white-hot rage, but encased in a sarcophagus of cold, ringing emptiness. I could have torn the apartment apart. I could have called Liam and smashed his face in. I could have thrown Emily's things out onto the landing. But that would have been too easy. Too quick. They didn't deserve a swift pain, but a slow, public humiliation. They wanted a show. They would get one. The wedding would happen. But according to my script. In my mind, crystal clear with hatred, a plan was born. Cruel. Calculated. Perfect. The next 7 days became my personal one-man show. I put on the mask of a happy groom, and it grew more a part of me with each passing hour. On Wednesday morning, Emily returned from her bachelorette party, radiant and slightly hungover. She threw her arms around my neck, kissing me and chirping about how her friends envied me. I hugged her back, inhaling the scent of her perfume, which now smelled of lies, and smiled. "I missed you so much, darling. How did it go?" I asked, looking directly into her eyes. The same eyes that, in a photo just yesterday, had looked at my brother with adoration. Inside, I was screaming. I wanted to shake her, to scream in her face everything I knew. But I just gently brushed a strand of hair from her face. "You look tired. Go get some rest. I'll make breakfast." She smiled her most tender smile. The smile I used to love more than anything in the world. In the afternoon, I called Liam. His voice on the phone was cheerful and friendly.
Jack.
Hey, brother. What's up? Just calling my best man. I forced a laugh. Listen, I was thinking, you know Emily and me better than anyone. I want you to give the first speech at the reception. The most important one. Tell some touching story about us. Can you do that? There was a short pause on the other end. He was probably imagining himself standing next to me, smiling hypocritically, and talking about eternal love while knowing he was sleeping with my fiancée. Of course, brother. Anything for you. It'll be the best wedding speech in history. His voice oozed with false sincerity. I never doubted you, I replied and hung up. My hands were shaking. I went to the window and just stared outside for a few minutes, trying to calm the storm inside me. The remnants of my love for them were writhing in agony, clinging to memories, but hatred was stronger. It was like acid, burning away everything bright that had connected us. The nights became my time. While Emily slept beside me, snuggled trustingly against me, I would get up and go to my office. I copied everything from her tablet, the messages, hundreds of photos, a few short videos of them fooling around in bed. There was more than enough material. I began to edit my wedding gift. It was the meticulous work of an executioner. I chose our song, a gentle piano track we had first danced to. It would be the soundtrack for the beginning of the video. The first shots were of our happy faces. Here we are in Paris by the Eiffel Tower, here at a picnic with friends, here I am proposing to her, and she's crying with happiness. A perfect picture. And then, in time with the music, which would begin to grow more anxious, more dissonant, the screenshots would appear. Over our happy photo, her message, "He's so predictable." Over our kiss, his reply, "His blind love is our best defense." I worked for hours, selecting each frame, each word. The music swelled, turning into a sinister, dramatic symphony. The climax would be their most explicit photos, edited together with shots of the three of us, me, her, and him, laughing at a family dinner. The final frame would be their conversation about their honeymoon plans, frozen on the screen under a deafening, sharp chord. Every night, after finishing my work, I would return to bed. Emily would murmur something in her sleep and press closer to me. I would lie there with my eyes open, staring at the ceiling, feeling my heart turn to a block of ice. The groom's morning. I stood in front of the mirror, tying my bow tie. A stranger looked back at me. He had my eyes, but his gaze was alien, cold, heavy, ruthless. This wasn't a happy groom. This was an executioner on his way to the execution. I adjusted the boutonniere on the lapel of my perfect black tuxedo and smirked at my reflection. The show must go on. The ceremony in the old mansion felt like a dream. I walked to the altar, saw the smiling faces of the guests, my parents teary-eyed with emotion. And then she appeared. Emily, in her snow-white dress, was dazzling. For a moment, my icy heart faltered. Memories of the girl I had fallen in love with 5 years ago flashed through my mind. But I pushed them away. That girl was gone. Maybe she never existed. I took her hand. It was cold. "I do," I said, firmly and clearly, looking into her eyes and seeing only a reflection of my own lie. "I do," she whispered, her voice trembling with happiness. When the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, I leaned in and kissed her. The kiss tasted of ash. Standing behind me was Liam. He clapped me on the shoulder, and I felt a wave of revulsion wash over me. "Congratulations, brother," he whispered in my ear. In that moment, I felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. Only a cold, ringing emptiness and the anticipation of the finale. The banquet hall was drowning in flowers and candles. Everything was perfect, just as Emily had planned. We sat at the head table, accepting congratulations. Our parents gave touching toasts about love and family, unaware that their world was about to collapse along with mine. Emily beamed, squeezing my hand under the table. Liam, sitting beside her, kept winking at me as he raised his glass. Hypocrites. Finally, it was my turn. The host handed me the microphone. I stood up. The hall fell silent. "Dear friends, family," I began, my voice surprisingly calm. I want to thank everyone who came to share this happiest of days with us. Looking at my beautiful wife, I turned to Emily and smiled at her. I understand what true trust is. Trust is the foundation of everything. It's what makes love indestructible. Emily looked at me with tear-filled eyes. Liam nodded in approval. I was lulling them into a false sense of security, leading them straight into the trap. Our family has always been an example of love and support for me. And today, I want to show you a short film. A film about how truly strong and all-consuming love can be in our family. I nodded to the sound engineer. The lights in the hall dimmed. On the two huge screens on either side of us, the first frames appeared. Our song. Our happy faces. The guests sighed with affection. Emily leaned against my shoulder. And then the music changed. And on the screen, next to our wedding photo, the first message appeared. He's so predictable. A bewildered silence fell over the hall. I felt Emily tense up. Her smile froze. The next frame. Our vacation photo. And Liam's message, his blind love is our best defense. The silence turned into shocked whispers. I looked around the room. The guests' faces were stretched in amazement. I looked at the key figures of my play. Emily. Her face was as white as a sheet. Her smile had turned into a grimace of horror. Her eyes darted from the screen to me, then to Liam. She opened her mouth to say something, but only a strangled croak came out. Liam. His smug grin slid off his face. He had turned so pale he looked like a ghost. He stared at me with a mixture of animal hatred and fear. He understood. He was trapped. My parents. I saw the pain and shame on my father's face. My mother covered her face with her hands. Her shoulders shook with silent sobs. Emily's parents stared at their daughter with a silent question and horror. Their perfect world was collapsing. The video grew more brutal. The photos from the hotel. Their kisses. Their bodies. The whispers in the hall grew into a roar of condemnation. Some people started to get up and leave. The finale. The screen went black under a deafening final chord. A dead silence descended upon the hall. I calmly placed the microphone on the table. I turned to my wife and my brother. They sat there, crushed, destroyed, under the glare of hundreds of judgmental eyes. The best man was supposed to give a speech, I said quietly, but in the dead silence, my voice sounded like a gunshot. But I think he's already said everything. Behind my back. A marriage built on lies is annulled on the same day. And betraying family is never forgiven. I paused, sweeping them with an icy gaze. You may kiss each other. With that, I turned and walked toward the exit. I didn't look back. I walked through the crowd of stunned guests, leaving them behind to reap the fruits of their betrayal in the ruins of a celebration that was supposed to be the beginning of my happy life, but instead became their public execution. Leaving the restaurant, I felt no relief. There was no sweet taste of revenge that you read about in books. The white-hot rage was replaced by a deafening, all-consuming emptiness. I got in my car and just drove, with no goal, no direction. I drove for hours until the city lights gave way to the darkness of a country highway. There, on the side of the road, for the first time that week, I allowed myself to cry. They weren't tears of self-pity. They were tears for the love that had died, for the trust that had been murdered, for the brother I had lost, and for the version of me that had died that night in front of the tablet. What happened next? I filed for an annulment the very next day. I changed my phone number, deleted all my social media accounts. I sold my share in the business and left town. I didn't want anything that reminded me of my past life. I didn't take a single call from them. I didn't read a single message. For me, they ceased to exist. 2 years have passed. I live in a small coastal town where no one knows me. I work a lot, I surf, and I'm learning to trust people again, starting with myself. The scars remain. Sometimes at night, I still dream of her smile or his treacherous clap on my shoulder. The emptiness inside has been filled, not with happiness, but with a quiet, melancholic peace. Was the revenge worth it? I don't know. It didn't give me back 5 years of my life or heal my wounds. But it was necessary. It wasn't an act of cruelty, but an act of surgical intervention. I had to cut that tumor out of my life with one sharp, painful motion so it wouldn't poison me further. I burned my old world to the ground so I could start building something new on the ashes. And though there may not be love in this new world yet, there is something more important. There is me. Renewed. Free. And a survivor. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left, and thank you for watching.